Here we are again, folks. The Christmas markets are up. Michael Bublé is back on your radio stations, and the snooker tour is rolling into York for the start of the UK Championship, beginning tomorrow at the Barbican. My mystical powers of prediction managed to get 5 of the 16 qualifiers correct, which doesn't bode well for the rest of this video, where I will be going through all 16 first round matches and offering my predictions on who will be making it through to the second round. And it's the defending champion who will kick off the tournament on Saturday afternoon, and it is still quite a surprise that Judd has not picked up any more silverware since landing this title 12 months ago. He has reached 2 finals this season though, and after making a change to his cue at that invitational tournament out in Saudi Arabia, he does sound to be more confident with his cue than he was after his loss to Mark Selby at the Champion of Champions. And he kicks off his title defence against arguably the qualifier everyone wanted to avoid in Stephen Maguire. And that is really tough for Judd after he drew Neil Robertson first round here last year as well. Stephen did have a bit of a scare against Chang Bing-yu in qualifying, who actually made a 147 in that match. But he is back at an event which, as I mentioned in my last video, is an event he has a really good record in. Judd only just shades the overall head-to-head between this pair, but they have played each other twice before at the UK Championship, and Judd has won both of those back in 2011 and 2014. It's a really tasty draw to kick off the tournament, but I will play it safe and going to go with Judd to come through in a deciding frame. Jiahui only just about managed to hold on to a top 16 seeding for York, despite a fairly quiet season which has only seen him reach a single quarter-final. It is the second year in a row that seed comes to the UK as a seed, and after losing first round last year, will be aiming for a deeper run this time around. But he does have an experienced Ryan Day in his way here, with the Welshman coming through a tense Judgment Day decider against Hussein Fafai to make it to the Barbican. If we take away the shootout and the Championship League, this pair have played each other just twice before and have one win apiece. I do think a lot of this match comes down to the form that C brings to York this week. If he plays like we know he can, then I would fancy him to get through, but I'm not quite convinced by him this season, so I've put Ryan Day to be our first qualifier to get through to the second round. Our first all-Chinese clash of the draw sees 3-time UK champion Ding Junhui face his compatriot Xu Xi. We've not really seen much from Ding at all this season. He's only played in 7 events, with his best performance coming at the Xi'an Grand Prix, where he reached the quarterfinals. But in a similar vein to Stephen Maguire, you do always fancy Ding to come alive in a tournament that he does love. In addition to the 3 titles he's won, he also reached back-to-back finals in 2022 and 23. Zhou landed a couple of notable wins against Jamie Jones and Tom Ford to qualify, which comes off the back of a season where he's not reached a single last 32 of any tournament. Ding leads the head-to-head 4-2, but Zhou did win their most recent match earlier this year at the World Grand Prix. Still though, I would suggest Ding to get through here fairly comfortably. Scott Donaldson produced one of the stories of the week, coming back from 5-0 down to beat Stuart Bingham to qualify, before then informing us that his win has come just a matter of weeks after his father had tragically passed away. And his reward for his efforts is a first-round date with the 2022 UK champion Mark Allen. Now, Mark has been a tough player to read this season because I'm not sure we've really seen the best of him yet. But to his credit, he does still have a title under his belt, plus a few more semi-final appearances as well. Allen does have a strong UK Championship record with a couple more finals and semi-finals in addition to his win 3 years ago. And he also has a commanding 9-1 lead in the head-to-head against Donaldson. It will be an emotional day for Scott, but unfortunately I think Allen may breeze past him here, so I have Allen down to win 6-1. It has been 23 years since Mark Williams won his second and final UK title, and he hasn't reached a final at this event for 15 years either. In fact, he has just 2 quarter-final appearances to his name over the past 10 years, so the evidence suggests that this is one of the few tournaments that the Welshman has struggled with in his career. He does, however, come to York as a tournament winner after landing the Xi'an Grand Prix earlier this season, and we know to expect a good performance to come out of nowhere from him as well. So this week could be the week that happens. He faces the experienced David Gilbert though, who had to scrap to qualify with close wins over Julien and Daniel Wells. Just like Williams, David has a poor record at this event, and as I mentioned in my last video, has never reached a quarter-final here. Williams holds a 13-8 lead in the head-to-head, although Gilbert has beaten him at the World Championship before in what has been the only meeting between the pair in a Triple Crown event. I'm expecting a close battle here and will go with Gilbert to come through 6-4. Zhao Guodong's highlight of the season has been successfully defending his Wuhan Open title, but outside of that week, he has been fairly quiet in general, not making it to a quarterfinal of any other ranking event. Junxu's season has also been very quiet, but he did qualify with a couple of decent wins against Liam Highfield and Noppon Sankam. Xiao has never got past the last 32 of this tournament, whilst Pang only has done so once, which was on his debut in front of no crowd back in 2020. There is also no head-to-head between this pair, so I just have to go off gut feeling, and that feeling is Zhao will come through a 6-3 winner. With thanks to his win at the International Championship, Yize earned himself a spot in the top 16 at the last possible opportunity, and thus guaranteeing himself a seeding for the UK Championship. Michael Holt repeated his performance from 12 months ago to qualify for this tournament again, securing wins over Ryan Evans, Jackson Page and Yuan Xijun to get himself here for a second successive year. Both men qualified and won their opening round match last year, with Michael going on to reach the quarterfinals. There's only been one previous meeting between this pair where Wu got the better of Michael in a deciding frame, but on this occasion, I'm sticking with Holt to win, and to do so in a deciding frame as well. Three-time UK champion Neil Robertson returns to York this year as a seed after having to win 2 matches to qualify 12 months ago. The world number 3 comes into the tournament in good form as well, having reached the semi-finals of the Champion of Champions, was runner-up in the Riyadh Championship, and also won the Snooker 900 event this week as well. These are all in addition to his win at the Saudi Arabia Masters back in August. And he faces Julien Leclerq, who got 2 particularly impressive results against Jack Jones and Haotian to qualify for the UK Championship for the very first time. And this comes somewhat out of the blue, as he had only won 5 matches all season before the qualifiers got underway. This is a really tough first round test for him though, and I really don't want to say this because I will almost definitely jinx him, but I do fancy Neil to have a really good week in York. This will be the first meeting for this pair, and I feel like Neil will want to hit the ground running, so I have him down to win this one 6-1. The world number 2 kicks off his bid for a first UK title, and when I'd done my predictions for this season back in the summer, he was the man I put down to win this very tournament. Since winning the Shanghai Masters though, it has been a fairly uneventful season. He has cited off-table issues which hopefully have now subsided, but he has also been on the wrong end of a few batterings from both Shaun Murphy and Neil Robertson, who sort of produced 10 out of 10 performances to beat him. Slessor will be very happy to have made it through qualifying because he really has deserved a spot at the Barbican after having a very strong first half of the season. His route wasn't easy though, having to beat Bolsku Revez in a deciding frame before then beating Zach Jurity 6-4 in a match which included him destroying his knuckles against the table. This match may fly under the radar a little, but it is a really difficult match to call actually. Kyren leads the head-to-head, but Elliot has won their most recent meeting last year, and I do think he will put up a really good fight here. I'm not 100% convinced on this prediction, but I have Wilson to come through in a deciding frame. Here we have a matchup between 2 players with a combined age of 96 years old. Hawkins has quietly been having a pretty steady season, reaching a couple of quarterfinals and several more last 16s as well. He of course was only a couple of frames away from winning this title 12 months ago, where he claimed an unwanted record instead of losing in all 3 Triple Crown event finals without yet winning one. But could 2025 be the year that he finally puts that right? David Lilley was an unexpected qualifier to say the least, but he did take full advantage of a section which opened up a bit for him and landed a big win against Ricky Walden before qualifying in a deciding frame against Artemis Tizums, who had beaten Ali Carter earlier in the qualifiers. Hawkins has a 100% record against David Lilley, and in truth, I can't see that record not being extended here. And although it always feels harsh to predict a whitewash, that's what I'm going to go with. Mark Selby comes into the tournament off the back of his win at the Champion of Champions, and as I said in my review of that tournament, it felt like it was a peak performance from the Jester, and you feel like if he brings that form to York, he will be very, very difficult to stop. Mark is, however, on a bit of a drought at the Triple Crown events, and when it comes to the UK Championship, he hasn't got past the quarterfinal stage since last winning the title back in 2016. And he faces Li Peifan, who we are starting to see more and more of on our screens over the past 12 months. He qualified here last year, where he lost first round to Zhang, and of course has gone on to win a title, beat Kyren Wilson at the Crucible, and then knock out Shaun Murphy from the Champion of Champions earlier this month too. So can he claim another big result here? Well, Selby has won their only previous match, which was earlier this year, and he won it 4-0. We had a false dawn last season where I felt like Selby would have a really good World Championship before then losing first round, but I do suspect he's in good enough form not to let that happen again here. The part-timer Ronnie O'Sullivan will kick off a bid for his 9th UK title. That of course is unless he pulls out of the tournament last minute. Ronnie has only played in 5 tournaments this season, but he has reached a final and 2 quarterfinals, and of course knocked in 2 maximum breaks in a single match in Saudi Arabia as well. But what has been striking me this season is that he does look to be playing pretty well, but outside of maybe his win against Kyren Wilson in Saudi Arabia, he's been on the wrong end of some matches against fellow top players who are putting up a fight against him. And a battle is certainly what he can expect here against Zhao Yuelong, who has reached a final and a semi-final this season. Their quarterfinal match here 2 years ago was a cracker as well, with O'Sullivan just about edging his way through in a deciding frame before of course going on to win the title. But on the topic of previous meetings, Ronnie has won all 7 of the previous matches between this pair. And it is that head-to-head which is causing me some concern, because apart from that, I would really fancy Zhao to cause an upset here. In terms of match sharpness, Zhao trumps O'Sullivan, but does he maybe have a slight mental barrier when facing the Rocket? Time will tell, but I will go with my initial gut feeling and have Zhao to win 6-4. We move from one class of 92 icon to another here as John Higgins enters proceedings. John's best performance this season was his run to the final of the International Championship, but just like Mark Williams, this has not been a good tournament for Higgins in recent years. He won his 3rd UK title back in 2010, but has not reached a semi-final in the 15 years since, and it's 6 years since he last reached the quarterfinals. Ben Woollaston, well, as I said in my preview of the qualifiers, I keep discounting this man, and he continues to keep coming up with the goods. Beating Joe O'Connor in a deciding frame to qualify was an excellent result, and again, something I predicted against happening. Higgins leads the head-to-head 6-1, including beating Ben in his only ranking event final to date. I did completely write off Ben against Mark Selby at the Crucible earlier this year, and he proved me wrong, but I am doing the same again here and have Higgins to win 6-3. The 2008 champion Shaun Murphy is still searching for a 2nd UK title, but comes into this tournament as one of the form players of the season after winning the British Open and then losing to the Xi'an Grand Prix final a couple of weeks later. He has reached 2 quarterfinals at the UK Championship in the past 3 years and will be looking to improve upon his current tally of 4 Triple Crown titles, having won his 2nd Masters crown at the start of this calendar year. In his way is Liu Hushan, who had to come through 2 deciders against Matthew Stevens and Mitchell Mann to make it to the Barbican this year. The win against Stevens also came from being 5-1 behind. It'll be the first time Liu has played at the Barbican for 3 years, and you have to go back to 2017 to find the last time he got beyond the last 32 of this tournament. This is a repeat of the 2024 World Championship first round, which Murphy won 10-5, and being in the form he is currently in at the moment, coupled with the fact that he has not lost to his opponent since 2018, I've got Murphy to come through as a 6-2 winner. After recently dropping outside of the top 16, Gary Wilson is back as a seed thanks to a season so far which has seen him reach a final and a semi-final in events out in China. He also faces a man to have dropped out of the top 16 now that the earnings from his international title 2 years ago have gone. It's been a very quiet 18 months or so for Zhang, which has seen him drop down the rankings again, but he put in a pretty strong performance against Tepchea and Nu to qualify. The thing that concerns me here about Gary Wilson is that he always seems to be better as the underdog, and I rarely see him do well as a seed, highlighted by his 6-1 loss to Michael Holt in the first round 12 months ago. He's also never won a match at the Crucible when he's gone there as a seed, yet made it to the semi-finals as a qualifier. Gary has won all 3 meetings between these two, but for some reason I'm fancying Zhang to get a result here. The form guide and the head-to-head is heavily in Gary's favour, but recent performances as a seed at the big tournaments do not fill me with confidence, so a 6-4 win for Zhang is what I'm going for. And now finally we have the reigning world champion, who may just be finding his stride after a slowish start to the season. He has reached at least the semi-finals in his last 3 tournaments, which includes winning the Riyadh Championship last week. Zhao of course won this title 3 years ago and won 4 matches to qualify last season as an amateur, and there will be a lot of eyes on him this year to see how he fares in his first Triple Crown event as the reigning world champion. And he faces the 12th and final Chinese player in this draw in Long Zihong. Now, Long's qualification was another surprise to come out of Wigan last week, where he picked up big wins against Louis Heathcote and Aaron Hill. This will also be his debut at the Barbican, and I pray John Parrott isn't around to commentate on his match, because there is zero chance that he has seen this lad play. Zhao beat Long on his way to qualifying for the World Championship last season, although it was a narrow 10-8 victory on that occasion. Here though, I think Zhao gets through with quite a bit to spare. And so there we have it, that's all 16 first round matches previewed and predicted. As always, let me know in the comments who you think will win all 16 matches. Do you have any surprise stories? I feel like I've played it fairly safe in my predictions, which didn't serve me particularly well at the qualifiers, but we'll see what happens here. As always, enjoy the tournament, the first Triple Crown event of the year, back on the BBC. It's such a fantastic tournament to enjoy, and I'll be back next week to review it.